What is up, everyone? It's me, Jrod, the filmmaker, former film major, frequent fighting gamer from Philadelphia, and welcome to the end of 2021. 2021 was a year of promise, as in it promised not to be as bad as 2020 was. And although it's not the normal that we were used to, 2021 actually was slightly better. The shows and the movies started to pick back up, especially the movies. I made my return to theaters this year, and also there were some great home releases. HBO premiered all of the Warner Brothers films day and date on HBO Max. Netflix had a new movie every week of the year. Disney and Hulu had some great premium premieres as well, but nothing beats the films that I saw in theaters. All in all, it was a good year for the content wars. And now it's time to look back fondly over everything that this year had to offer. But first up, if you can do me a favor and hit me with a 3-hit combo, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell, that would be perfect. This time I was a little more prepared. I was making lists of all the shows that I wanted to watch. The list helped me stick to them and finish them all the way to the end. And then I added those titles to a larger compiled list on Likewise. And when I was finished, I'd just make a whole new list and start over again. Now, this system still isn't perfect, but I think it's much more accurate than last year. With that being said, I'm sure there's still a show or movie from 2021 that I forgot about. And if I mention a show or movie that came out before 2021, it is because that this year is the first time I watched it, or it came back for a new season in 2021. So now, without further ado, let's get into the list. All right, the first category of shows and movies is documentary and docuseries. Now, for documentaries and docuseries this year, I watched Operation Varsity Blues, the college admission scandal documentary. I watched Crime of the Century, the opioid epidemic documentary, also at HBO Max. History of Swear Words, which is, as it says, the history of swear words, at Netflix and hosted by Nicolas Cage. Q Into the Storm was a documentary series about QAnon and their rise leading up to the January insurrection, and that was also on HBO Max. United Shades of America with W. Kamau Brown is a CNN show that is now streaming on HBO Max. I got to check it out. And The Way Down with Gwen Shamblin was a 3-part, I believe, docu-series on Gwen Shamblin and her church that was on HBO Max. Then we have High on the Hog, which is a documentary about African American history through the lens of food. And finally, Fake Famous, which was a documentary also at HBO Max about social media and influencer culture. For reality TV, there were a couple new and a couple returning shows that I watched on this list, starting off with Sexy Beasts at Netflix. Now, initially, I was gonna skip this one, but after I watched a single episode, I was actually kind of hooked. It's a lot more casual and interesting than I thought it would be, and I checked out the entire show. Then we had 2 seasons of Big Brother that I watched this year, starting with Big Brother US 23 and Big Brother Canada 9. I checked out both of those seasons, and we got our first Black winner on each of them. Then next up, there were 2 seasons of The Challenge that I watched this year. The normal MTV season, The Challenge 37, Spies, Lies, and Allies just recently wrapped up. And it was okay. It went on a little longer than I thought it should. And then The Challenge All-Stars premiered this year on Paramount Plus. I talked about it in my Paramount Plus video, but they actually just premiered a 2nd season of The Challenge All-Stars that I have yet to check out. Then there was F-Boy Island on HBO Max, which I actually really enjoyed. I have been trying to get into the Love Island romantic type reality shows, and they just never hold my interest. But F-Boy Island had just enough twist to it that it kept me thoroughly engaged. Then we also had 2 seasons of The Circle this year, and I enjoyed them. I watched both of them, but I'm not sure if we need to do 2 seasons per year. Who knows? But I'll definitely check out the next season when it comes out on Netflix. Sweet Life LA is a new reality show produced by Issa Rae and streaming on HBO Max, and it is one of my favorites of the entire year. It shows off some Black excellence, Black opulence, and allows all the people involved in the show to be unfiltered and uncensored. That has to be my favorite part of it. Critter Fixers Country Vets is a really pleasant show on National Geographic Wild. There's about 2 vets from the country in Georgia who take care of house pets, they take care of farm animals and everything in between. It's really such a pleasant show to check out. And recently I just started watching The Hype, a streetwear fashion competition streaming on HBO Max, starring Offset and a bunch of creators of famous streetwear brands like Supreme and The Hundreds and things like that. It's actually really good. Next up, let's get into the anime that I watched this year. And I got a couple bangers on this list. I'm not gonna lie, I'm trying to step up my anime watching. And I started off this year by watching Fire Force. And I loved Fire Force. I don't know, something about the fire, the fighting, and then how they mix that with like the occult religious aspects. It's a really interesting watch. Then I also watched FLCL, also known as Fully Cooley. I checked out the original anime as well as the two new rebooted animes. I did enjoy both of them. I don't think I actually got all the concepts, but it was so beautiful to look at that I really enjoyed the show. Onyx Equinox might be the most underrated thing that I watched this year. It was such a beautiful anime. I loved how it changed up the landscape by using Mesoamerica and using a bunch of stuff from their mythology. It was so great to look at. The story is great. It really hits you in the feels. So check out Onyx Equinox on Crunchyroll if you haven't already. Then we got Yasuke and Cannon Busters, both on Netflix. I know Cannon Busters was a little old, but I never checked it out. And I actually did enjoy it, how they brought together a bunch of different concepts like bounty hunters and mechs and royal families and stuff like that. I also really enjoyed Yasuke. I know it wasn't the show that a lot of people were looking for, but as far as a fun journey film, involving a samurai, lone wolf and cub style, I thought that Yasuke was actually really good. And then we have Cowboy Bebop, not the live action Cowboy Bebop, but the original anime, which I watched for the first time in about March of this year. And boy, do I love this anime. I mean, two things that it has that I love: space and jazz music. And bringing those two things together, I think, is a perfect combination, better than peanut butter and jelly. High School of the Dead. I watched this because I really just wanted to see how zombies are handled in anime. And I don't know, it didn't really keep my attention all the way to the end, but it was cool while it lasted, I guess. Then we have God of High School, which I really enjoyed. I liked the combat. Reminded me a lot of Food Wars, just with actual fighting instead of cooking. And also Jujutsu Kaisen, which similarly, it was really started off with a bang, really had me in the beginning. I kind of faded off by the end, but I still checked out the full show. Scissor 7 is really the show that I think everybody should be watching. It is cute, it is casual, it is funny, and then sometimes it's dark and it hits hard and the action is great. So please check out Scissor 7. They had a new season and it was another banger of a season. Samurai Champloo was really a lot like Cowboy Bebop, but they used feudal Japan and hip-hop instead of space and jazz, but I still loved it all the way throughout. And then JoJo's Bizarre Adventure was the last anime I watched of the year, but I watched the entire thing and it did not disappoint. It's also aptly named because it was definitely a bizarre adventure, but I love some seasons more than others, but I love the entire show as a whole. Then we're gonna get into cartoons, starting off with Close Enough and Solar Opposites, which both came back for great new seasons. Close Enough on HBO, Solar Opposites on Hulu. Infinity Train came back for another season, and I didn't like it as much as the first 3 seasons, but I still enjoyed it, and if they do come back, I'll enjoy another season as well. Disenchantment had a great season. It deepened the lore and expanded the setting of the show. Invincible, I'm going to talk more about this later, but Invincible was definitely a banger. Out of all of these cartoons, all these animated shows, I think Invincible is the strongest. Love, Death, and Robots Season 2. It was shorter than Season 1, but still just as good, if not better. And then The Bad Batch carried on the torch from Star Wars The Clone Wars, and it carried it pretty well. I still am not sold on all the characters, but it is fun to watch. Centaur World actually caught me by surprise because I'm normally not a fan of musical cartoons, but it was a casual enough watch that I didn't mind at all. Final Space actually came back for a final season this year, and the final 2 seasons of Final Space are amazing. You guys should check them out if you haven't already. Star Trek Lower Decks, I just recently finished up the new season, and it is just as good as all the other ones. It's really the only Star Trek thing that I'm excited for. It really has me interested in Star Trek. And then Kid Cosmic came back for an amazing second season. Might even be as good or not better than the first season, but if you're not watching Kid Cosmic, Trust me, you're missing out on one of the greatest animated shows of the entire year. MODOK premiered on Hulu, and it's pretty interesting. Casual watch. If you like Robot Chicken, then you'll probably enjoy MODOK. Rick and Morty and Tuca and Birdie also came back, and guys, I don't know why, but I think these two shows complement each other perfectly. Rick and Morty is kind of out there, and it can be a little harsh at times. Tuca and Birdie is really down to earth, grounded, and really comfortable. You know, it really gives you that comfy feeling. So these two shows being back to back on Adult Swim is actually great programming. Next up, we got Q-Force and Inside Job at Netflix. I enjoyed both of these shows a lot more than I thought, so I think you guys should check them both out, give them a chance, because you might enjoy them as well. Star Wars Visions was amazing, but I already did an entire video about that. The Animaniacs came back for a new season this year. Still one of my favorite reboots of all of them. It's still funny, and it's crazy how relevant it is in these modern times. Archer came back for a new season. They went back to form and aren't really doing their fantasy seasons anymore, but it was still a great season of Archer. Young Justice is currently on with a new season right now, Young Justice Phantoms, and I go back and forth. I didn't really like the first arc, but the second and third arcs are really good so far, so I can't wait to see what else they have in store for this season. Big Mouth came back with another banger season. I love this show. It is hilarious, and I feel like it gets better over time. Masters of the Universe had its first season on Netflix this year, and I actually really enjoyed it. Similar to Star Trek, I'm not really big into the Masters of the Universe lore, but this show actually did get me interested in some characters that I've never really thought about before. F is for Family had a hilarious new season. This is one of the funniest Netflix shows that I've ever watched, and similar to Big Mouth, I swear it just gets better with every new season. And Super Crooks premiered this year. Brand new show, but I loved it. I feel like it was close enough to some shows that I liked, like Invincible and The Boys, but it was also unique enough. It had its own tone, its own voice, and because of that, I love Super Crooks, and I would watch a bunch more seasons of it if they have some in the tuck. So next up, we're gonna get into Marvel. What did Marvel have for this year? Because last year, Marvel was on hiatus, and the only thing that they dropped was Hellstrom on Hulu. But this year was full of Marvel. And when I say full, it was more full than ever before, because this year they premiered their Disney Plus series. And I'm gonna rank them in order of how much I enjoyed them. For the shows, we're going to start off with WandaVision. This is still my favorite of all the shows. I just remember watching it. It was so much fun. The theory crafting, the twists and the turns. WandaVision still has a place in my heart. Then there was Loki. Loki actually was also a really great adventure. It finished off really good, has such a solid ending, and bringing Jonathan Majors into the MCU, chef's kiss. It was an amazing decision by whoever made it. Then there's Hawkeye. Hawkeye, I did not expect it to be so high on this list. I never really cared about the character before, but the Hawkeye show actually was really good. I loved the tone of it. I loved how it reminisced and remixed a bunch of classic Christmas shows, and the action in it was also great. Then there's What If. There were several episodes of What If that I just loved, like the Marvel Zombies, the T'Challa in space, as well as the Killmonger episode, and then the finale. And I'm so happy they decided to spin off Marvel Zombies into its own show. And then finally there's Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I still really like this show, and I feel like it had a lot and did really good in the beginning, but I made a video about how it just failed in the final episode, specifically with one character. So check it out if you haven't already. Now let's get into the movies. There were 4 movies this year. I only saw 3 of them, but here they go. Spider-Man No Way Home was the best Marvel movie I saw all year. Then there was Shang-Chi, then there was Black Widow, and I still have not seen Eternals. All of these movies are all very close though. Like Shang-Chi and Black Widow were actually both amazing films. Spider-Man just really delivered. Oh, and I guess Venom Let There Be Carnage also counts. I haven't seen that yet either. Next category is called The Big Show. It is just some big shows, I guess. Some shows that people were saying are the best shows ever, that you gotta check these out. You know, the shows that you gotta see before you die. So I made a list of a bunch of them and I checked them out. Starting off with The Wire and The Sopranos. And yeah, I mean, I get why these are some classic shows that everyone goes back to. They were actually both amazing, and I can't even bring myself to choose which one of them I liked the most. I really did enjoy both of them. Then there was Game of Thrones. I was not interested in watching Game of Thrones when it was on, but now I think enough time has passed and the hype has died down to where I could enjoy the full show. And I did. I enjoyed the entire thing. Then there was Succession. I actually tried to watch Succession early in the year. I fell off a little bit in season 1, but then I came back and finished it before season 3 so I could watch season 3 live with everyone. And boy, I'm happy I did that, because Succession is an amazing show with great dialogue, and season 3 was, whew, it really hit you. It hit you like a train. Then there is The Deuce. This show is by David Simon, the creator of The Wire. Features a lot of actors that play characters in The Wire, but it is a completely different setting, a completely different subject matter, and I still enjoyed The Deuce very much. Next we have Money Heist. Money Heist by a lot is considered the best show that you can watch on Netflix. It is a bank heist telenovela style show, and I really did enjoy it for the first couple seasons, but guys, I feel like Money Heist has gone on for too long, so either they need to arrest them or give them the money, because, you know, why are we dragging this out still? Then we got Search Party. Search Party was hilarious all the way throughout. It's really cute, it's really funny, but it can go deep and dark sometimes, so watch out for Search Party, coming back for a new season in 2021. And we had Love Life. I knew about Love Life since HBO Max dropped, but I did not check it out until the second season, and I'm happy I did, because season 1 was great, but season 2 was amazing. Squid Games was Squid Games. I mean, I feel like almost everyone has seen Squid Game by now, or at least you know what it's about, and I really liked how far they went with some of the stuff. I liked the visual style. I liked watching it. Squid Game was pretty cool. The Good Place. Oh man, I actually really liked The Good Place. It was a really comfy and casual watch about something that can be kind of heavy subject matter, you know, life after death and death itself. But The Good Place really just wraps it up in like this warm and cozy feeling show. Then there's Community, which I guess we could say the same thing. It's warm and cozy feeling, but it is about, I don't know, community college. Something that is often overlooked, but I think this show describes the experience very well, and it was really good to watch. Fleabag and Rami are both great shows with great dialogue and great characters, but I made a video about both of these shows, so go ahead and check that out if you haven't already. Forever, similar to The Good Place, Forever is a show about life after death that handles it in a very funny and casual way. It's an older show on Amazon Prime, I believe, but I loved every moment of it. Wu-Tang and American Saga, bro, this show is it, man. I feel like if you haven't been watching Wu-Tang, you're missing out on one of the best shows ever, and this second season is so good. It's so inspirational. I just love watching the Wu-Tang come together and all the things that they had to get through to, you know, be the group that they are today. Warrior is a classic kung fu inspired show based on a script by Bruce Lee, adapted by Shannon Lee. If you love classic kung fu type movies, you'll love the show Warrior, because it has some of the best fighting and best storyline ever that you could get from a kung fu movie like this, or a kung fu show. It is a show. And then finally, The Head. The Head is a creepy murder mystery that takes place in a research station in the Arctic. I watched this around Halloween because I was looking for some creepier movie or creepier shows to watch, and The Head did not disappoint. I actually really enjoyed it. Now we're gonna get into the movies we watched this year, and there were a lot more than I expected, so let's hurry up and get through them all. We got Respect and The United States versus Billie Holiday, Old by M. Night Shyamalan, Willy's Wonderland featuring Nicolas Cage, Paranorman, which I know is an older movie, but I watched it for the first time this year on Halloween, Venom, the first one, I watched for the first time this year, and I'll check out the second one soon. Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar was a hilarious movie on Amazon Prime featuring Kristen Wiig. Thunder Force was a hilarious movie on Netflix featuring Octavia Spencer and Melissa McCarthy. Sorry, I almost lost it. Concrete Cowboy, I mean, I gotta give this one bonus points. It's set in Philly, but it's also a great coming of age film. It's a great father and son film. It's a great film. Then we got The Harder They Fall, another cowboy film at Netflix, but this one is a period piece that actually takes place in the time of cowboys, but it fictionalized the lives of a lot of famous black heroes in the cowboy times. And it was actually pretty good. Zola. Zola was the most anticipated film event of the year for me, and it did not disappoint. I love seeing this. I saw it in theaters. It was such an experience. I can't wait to watch Zola again. As well as Candyman. Candyman was so good. I'm not even a big horror fan, but Candyman, I was afraid to look away because the visuals that we got from Nia DaCosta were so amazing. Every moment was just eye candy. Finding Ohana was a cute family film on Netflix that was actually pretty good. Judas and the Black Messiah, I love this film. I love the dialogue and the speeches. Space Jam: A New Legacy, it was okay. I get I'm not the target demographic for this movie anymore, but I just wish it had more Looney Tunes and less of everything else. One Night in Miami was also an amazing piece that gave you a lot of dialogue and moments from some famous black icons that we would never even get to see without Regina King and her vision for this film. Outside the Wire was a kind of disappointing film from Netflix featuring Damson Idris and Anthony Mackie. I thought because of casting alone that this was going to be a good film, but I was wrong. Then we got Malcolm and Marie. Now this film is not for everybody, but for me personally, I enjoyed it. It's packed full of dialogue. It can be a little pretentious at times, but I really just love the art film festival feeling that this movie gave me. Then there was Dune. I'm gonna keep it honest. Dune was way too long, but I feel like it was worth the watch. It took me about 3 days to get through it, but once I did, I was like, okay. Visually, it's beautiful. King Richard, it wasn't really the film I expected it to be, but it was still pretty good, and also gave us a perspective on Venus and Serena that we would have never gotten. The Fear Street trilogy was okay. I mean, it wasn't really scary. It's a casual watch. I can't even really say it was good, but you know, it did pass the time. Free Guy was actually a lot better than I expected. The Mortal Kombat movie, I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to a sequel, but I have a video all about that. Mortal Kombat Battle of the Realms, I also really enjoyed it. I know some people thought it was rushed and too much happened in the final act, but I really enjoyed watching it. Gunpowder Milkshake was kind of disappointing in my opinion, but I only watched it because of Angela Bassett. And Angela Bassett is not in much of the film, so that's probably why I was disappointed. A Quiet Place 1 and 2, I checked those out when I reviewed Paramount Plus. The Suicide Squad movie was amazing. I loved it so much. I can't wait to watch it again. Raya, Luca, and Cruella all came out at Disney Plus, and they were actually all really good. I only watched Cruella to make fun of it, but by the end of it, I was like, oh, this is actually a pretty solid film. Really Love is a romantic movie that was at Netflix. I didn't really like it that much, but I don't think it was for me. I just checked it out because I was bored. Life After Beth is a zombie movie featuring Aubrey Plaza. It's a little older, but it isn't my favorite zombie movie that I watched all year. Army of the Dead is a zombie movie from Zack Snyder. It is my least favorite zombie movie that I watched all year. It was way too long, and the entire third act just made me angry. The Mitchells vs. the Machine is the best movie I watched on Netflix this year. Hands down, it is amazing. Check it out if you haven't already. And Coming to America, it was okay. I was gonna watch it anyway because the first one is one of my mother's favorite movies of all time. And the sequel didn't really have the same magic, but it was still a pretty good watch. Justice League, the Snyder Cut, was also way too long. Yes, it was better than the original Justice League, but I don't think it needed to be 4 hours in order to be better. And Bo Burnham Inside was one of the comedy events of the year, probably the funniest thing I have ever watched this year as far as comedy, and one of Bo Burnham's best specials. All right, and now we have the final category, just other shows that did not fit into any of the categories above. So let's get into it. Starting off with Black Lightning, came back for its final season, and I'm gonna miss the show for sure. It was my favorite of the DC TV shows, but hey, I'm glad that we got the experience. Beartown is a show streaming on HBO Max. It is a foreign language show, I believe from somewhere in the Nordic areas. The other two and Starstruck were hilarious comedies over at HBO Max. Russian Dolls at Netflix, I know it's a little older, but I just finally checked that out and I'm glad I did because it's actually really good. The concept and the execution. Clickbait was not my favorite at all. I don't even consider this like a real murder mystery because they don't give you what you need to solve it until the very last episode. It kind of just wasted my time. Ash vs. Evil Dead it was pretty good if you already know what to expect from the Evil Dead franchise. It's goofy, It's gory and campy, but hey, it made for a really good show. BMF, the first season of BMF came out this year, and it is one of my favorite shows this year, hands down. I loved watching it. I loved the action and the drama. I feel like Little Meech's performance as his father, Big Meech, was amazing. He knocked it out the park. Check out BMF if you haven't already. Run the World and Harlem, kind of similar shows, you know, the friend-based romantic comedies on streaming. They were okay, you know, nothing too crazy. On My Block came back for a questionable final season, but the show's run was great. I enjoyed every moment of it. The final season was just kind of suspect. 9 Perfect Strangers, another show that was also suspect. It was a fun ride, but then by the end I kind of feel like, what did I even watch that for? Reservation Dogs, boy, this is one of the best shows of the entire year. Coming of age about a bunch of kids from a reservation. It has laughs, it has heartfelt moments, it has everything you look for in a show, so check it out if you haven't already. Wellington Paranormal is a cops style show, but it's a parody where the cops solve paranormal crimes like, I don't know, Baba Yaga and the Loch Ness Monster. Why the Last Man, bro? I loved almost every moment of Why the Last Man. I don't know why it was canceled so early at Hulu, but I hope that someone like HBO Max is able to pick the show up, because I would watch as many seasons as they are willing to make. Ted Lasso continues to be one of the most just pleasant shows to watch on all of TV, and it's the only thing that I watch on Apple TV Plus, so it's holding that whole streaming service on its back. What We Do in the Shadows is still one of the funniest shows on TV, period. The Family Business, I enjoyed. It's a French show. Yeah, I don't know. If you like French shows, you might enjoy this. The White Lotus at HBO was another amazing show. I thought this was going to be a little bit creepy and dark, but no, it was just actually a pretty good time. Hilarious. It did have its emotional moments, but still a fun watch. Blood and Water came back for another new season, and this show is still as explosive as ever. It is my favorite show of all the South African shows that I'm watching, which I think is just one, but it's still an amazing show. I don't even know how to describe it. It's a little dark, it's a little gritty and mysterious, but it features like some great actors from South Africa. It is like a teen drama basically, but it has some other darker tones mixed in. Raising Kanan is my favorite of all the Power shows. I actually really enjoyed Raising Kanan, how it goes back in time, how it brings in some new characters. Joey Badass's acting in this is actually really good. I think they should give him some sort of award. Doom Patrol came back for another new season. I was skeptical in the beginning, but it finished off really strong. So check out Doom Patrol if you haven't already. American Horror Stories, a spinoff of American Horror Story that's anthology. It was really good, featured some new and old stories that you get to revisit. But the normal season of American Horror Story was a little bit lacking this year. They did 2 separate seasons, like a double feature, and I feel like we got 2 half-completed seasons instead of one whole one. Sex Education came back. It's still brilliant as ever. Hacks premiered this year, and it is one of my favorite shows. I'm actually rewatching it now because my mom is watching it, and the writing and the comedy in the show is still so good. Raising Dion is a little bit older. The child acting in it is really good, but everything else in it is just okay. Sweet Tooth, all of the acting in Sweet Tooth is really good, and despite it being about a pandemic, it's actually a really casual and fun watch, even during a pandemic. Black Summer is my favorite zombie thing that I watched on this whole list, and the only zombie show that I really loved. It's on Netflix, check it out if you haven't. A Black Lady Sketch Show came back for another hilarious new season. Generation on HBO Max came back for another new season. The Cowboy Bebop live action, told you we would get back to it, and I actually really enjoyed the Cowboy Bebop live action. I feel like it had some things that were similar to the anime and some things that were different enough to where you could watch both of them and not feel like you're watching the same show. Room 104 at HBO is a pretty good anthology series. I didn't get through the entire show, but I could always come back. Snowpiercer was good. I like season 1 a lot more than season 2, but maybe season 3 will make up for it. American Gods was also really good, and now I consider myself a fan, so if they come back, I'll be back to watch it. Then there are a couple of shows. I said that was the final category, but there's another category of shows that I watched later than all of them, and those are Southside on HBO Max, Arcane on Netflix, Saturday Morning All-Star Hits on Netflix, and How To with John Wilson on HBO Max. I could have put them all in their respective categories, but all of these shows from my last watch list were so good, I gave them their own category. Southside is easily the funniest show on this entire list. Arcane was actually really good, despite the fact that I know nothing about League of Legends. Saturday Morning All-Star Hits and How To with John Wilson feel like they were made for me because of how much I love running gun filmmaking and how much I love Saturday morning cartoon shows. So yeah, that is actually the entire list of everything that I watched in 2021. I'm editing the video right now, almost done, and I just thought of 2 shows that I forgot to add to the list. First off, Betty on HBO came back for another season this year. That was another banger. And Insecure actually just finished their 5th and final season, so I would have been dumb to miss out on this because Insecure has been amazing all 5 seasons, and this final one was so, you know, it's the culmination of all the work. It was a little bit emotional, so yeah. But now, finally, before I go, I'm gonna tell you what were my favorite and my least favorite things on the whole list. My least favorite shows on this entire list were Clickbait and Titans. I made a whole video about why I don't like Titans, so you can check that out. My least favorite movies on the list were Willy's Wonderland, Outside the Wire, and Army of the Dead. I mean, Willy's Wonderland, I didn't hate that I was watching it, but I feel like I wasted my time. The other 2, I just was like, why am I watching this? And my favorite movies of the year were Zola, Candyman, Judas and the Black Messiah, The Mitchells vs. the Machines, and Spider-Man No Way Home. They're not really in any specific order. It was actually really hard for me to order those because they were all so good. And finally, for my favorite show of the list, there was a tie, and I could not bring myself to break this tie because both of these shows were so good. The first one is Invincible at Amazon Prime, an explosive first season. I love the show. It was amazing. I thought it did some things that other shows were never able to do, as far as going really deep, showing us the really graphic nature of the depths of depravity that some of these characters would go to, as well as giving us an inspirational father-son family story at the same exact time. And finally, Reservation Dogs. I know, this is my second time bringing it up because I want you guys to all go check out Reservation Dogs on Hulu. It's already renewed for a 2nd season. It has some of the greatest characters constructed this year. It's a beautiful, heartwarming, coming-of-age tale. It has laughs, it has tears, it has everything you look for in a show, all rolled up into one. So yeah, check out Reservation Dogs, please, please, please. If I can even get one person to watch it, I will feel like this entire video was a success. So that is everything that I watched in 2021, or at least I think so. Yeah, if you think that there is something else, another show, another movie that I forgot to mention, go ahead and let me know in the comments below, because I really want to know if I missed something. I know I missed something, I just don't know what it is. Also, if you have some requests for shows or movies, animes or cartoons that I should watch next year for the next list, go ahead and let me know in the comments below as well. I was thinking about this being the last time I do one of these videos, but it's actually really fun to work on a video all year and then to get to see the fruits of your labor. So guys, that is gonna be it. That's everything. That's everything I watched this year, I think. Yeah. It took me 12 months to get this whole list together, but I'm glad I did. And now finally, when I made my last video for everything I watched in 2020, at the end, I talked about some of my goals for the year. And some of my goals are still the same. I would love to hit my subscriber goal of 1,000, be able to move towards monetizing my YouTube channel. And I would also, I also had a goal to start live streaming, which I did very recently. So for the next year, I am hoping to do more new shows, more live streaming, of course. I want to do some collaborations, so I will be looking out for people to collab with on videos. And yeah, I have a bunch of other goals, but we will see. We'll slowly unveil those over time. So that is going to be it for this video, guys. Like I said, if you have any suggestions for shows I should watch, or any shows that came out this year that you think I watched but forgot to mention, let me know down in the comments below. That's going to be it for this one, and I'll see you next year in my next new video. Peace out, y'all.
Later. Play on a Wii, Walgreens headset, so dog water, hit the gym instead of rotating to the fridge, welcome to heaven.
Get body, bro.